In my last video I went over disaster recovery, and in this one we're going to be going over storage as the lead into the actual resources of Microsoft Azure. So what you need to understand is how resilient you need it to be, what kind of structure is it, and what are you going to want to use the data for, how are you going to interact with it, how are you going to use it. So there's three main types. There's structured, unstructured, and a combination of the two. Structured is your data tables. Unstructured are things like your videos and images. Combinations are things like JSON or XML files that have some kind of structure but are still fairly unstructured. So figuring out how you want to use the data. Is it going to be one super large load? Is it going to be consistent, not used very often? You need to understand what that's going to be. As well as how are you going to interact with it. Are you going to use API, protocols, etc.? And there's three main layers. There's the stream layer, the partition layer, and the front end layer. The front end is going to be like the end that's put out. The partition layer is going to be where everything's happening, and then the stream layer is going to be the interfacing layer. And then DNS is used for the naming. So if you check the property of whatever account that you're using, it follows a template of whatever your account name is, dot whatever the services that you're using, so like .blob, .windows, .net. And overall, data is replicated with 3 or more copies. So it's kind of like a guarantee that you won't lose data, and this is done asynchronously. If you host a resource, you should host the data in the same region so that there's a low latency. This isn't required, but it is highly suggested, because having them really close together is going to have a lot lower latency than having something that's a lot further away. So then, like if you're using on-premises, you want to keep everything close to you as well. So just keeping things faster isn't huge, but it does help in the long run. So the storage account naming is global, so you should make sure that you keep it unique. So pull that up really quick. And so this is a global name. So you can go like where you're using it. East US. What is it going to be? It's going to be a blob. And then 856 7. Oh. East US blob 856. And then premium are going to have less options than your standard for redundancy. So that you're going to have your zone redundancy, your geo redundancy, locally redundant, geo redundant, and these. So geo redundant will do things will make things redundant among the region level. Zone redundant, again, data centers, and locally redundant will be in the data center in one region. LRS is being the cheapest because it's local, and the more that you replicate and the more widespread that you replicate, the more expensive that it will become. So while using premium, you sometimes, because there's not all the options for redundancy, sometimes you'll have to do that redundancy, and then you'll have to set that up yourself later. Okay. So you can have a storage container replicate to a different storage container. So if you have a storage container, you can have it replicate to that other storage container. When you set up your storage, you'll receive 2 keys. These are giving full permission, so you want to be careful with these. And when using resources, you can always use monitoring and logging. So networking, keep it public. Encryption, this is where you can set your encryption policy and whatever you want to do with that, whatever tags, review, yada yada. So there's Gen v2, that's the most used type. Gen v1 is fairly obsolete, and Blob has been put into Gen v2. Premium is just higher performance with block blobs and file storage. And if we head over to regions, you can see that the regions are within the same geopolitical boundary, and lost my place. Yep, the same geopolitical boundary, and these are the regional pairs. Let's see, go to resource, and if we go down to access keys, you can see the access keys, and if these become public, you want to make sure that you reset the keys. For the purposes of this, I'm going to be immediately deleting these after, so it's not a huge deal. Yep, so rotate the key. This will regenerate the key for you. Your access tiers that you're going to have available are going to be cool, hot, and archive. And this is determined on how often you use these. Your cool data is going to be the less accessed, your hot data is going to be the frequently accessed, and your archive data is going to be the data that you rarely access. And you can create policies to kind of move these through the different tiers as they're used or not used. And hot and cool can be more expensive, however archive takes 1 to 10 hours depending on your priority to pull up the data. So most of the times, unless you're actually looking to archive something, cool and hot is the best way to go. So your standard data is all consumption based, but your premium is all provision based. So depending on the amount that you want to use is how much they will charge you for, however much you say that you want. And you also have to take into account data transfer. Typically going in is free or very cheap, while going out, outgoing data can be a little more expensive, and most of the times that does incur a cost. Kind of a marketing thing, because it's easy to bring things in, but taking them out can have a larger cost, especially if you're doing everything. So data overall and your storage is very big. I recommend getting hands-on and trying stuff, setting up some dummy data, and kind of making yourself your own little lab, or using a lab that's provided on a website. And when we were talking about the keys, what you really don't want to do is become dependent on those keys. You want to use things like Azure AD to help you sign in, and I made a separate video on that, which should be in the AZ-104 video list. Encryption is standard in storage, and you could add this at any scope or layer, and you can use your own, or you can just use a pre-made Microsoft key. Azure File Sync can sync up to 50 servers, and the replication replicates quite a bit because it kind of works something like this. So we'll have your storage, and this one will replicate onto this, and onto this, and same with, nope. And then you can have other data that'll do the same thing. If it's on this disk, it'll replicate onto this and onto this, just boosting your replication process. And you can use this for up to 50 servers. And when you're using VMs, these have storage connected to them. So you have your VM, then you have your storage, and that storage is in sync with, it shares the same life cycle with your VM. So if your VM gets deleted, the data will typically be taken down with it because you won't need that data anymore, or you can take the data out once you're done with the VM. It's nice for cleanup though if you have them share the same life cycle on a kind of development side. VMs also have burst capabilities, so if you need additional data, they can burst out onto other disks that you create. Same thing with compute power and all of that. That's really all I have for this one. The next one will be on networking, and then after that we're going to be going into VMs. So that's it. See ya.